Ngadi, and today we are joined by a familiar face, David, who represents the Horizon Capital all the way in Cape Town. Welcome to the show, David.
Yeah, thanks very much, and hello to all your viewers, and thanks for having me back on your show.
It's our pleasure. So, David, let's just talk about the development, the Vera, that is located in Cape Town. Can you just tell us exactly where is it located, and what does Horizon Capital look for in terms of a location to develop a development?
Yeah, sure. So the Vera, the development that we're talking about this afternoon, it's located in the suburb of Verdehoek. And Verdehoek is one of the suburbs in Cape Town that make up what's known as the City Bowl. So the City Bowl in Cape Town are those suburbs that wrap around the base of Table Mountain and Lions Head and Signal Hill. So it consists of Tamboerskloof, then there's Oranjezicht, then there's Higgevale, Verdehoek and Gardens. So it makes up one of those City Bowl suburbs. And all of those suburbs are probably within 5 kilometers of the CBD, a very short drive. And for me, Verdehoek is one of those suburbs that's it's all about peaceful city living. And that's why when we started off with this development, the slogan that we chose was "Your Peace in the City," to try and encapsulate you owning a section of the city, but in a very peaceful neighborhood. So it's a suburb that's set on the slopes of Table Mountain, and I think what makes it really special is that it combines a few elements. So it combines this peacefulness and tranquility of living in the suburbs, but then also with the excitement and the energy that one gets from living in the city. And what's really special is it's close to nature. So if you are one who enjoys walks on Table Mountain, you have access to that on your back door. And then also it's an area that has lots of community spirit. There's lots of restaurants, little shops and cafes, and all of them are within a short walk from where the site that we've picked is located. And that ties in with what's important for us when we select a site to develop. And it must be accessible, there must be good views, and it must be an opportunity where you create some type of exclusivity. And then the area itself is also a very short drive to the waterfront, which is obviously one of Cape Town's hotspots. And then on the other side, over Kloof Neck, you are 6 kilometers to Camps Bay Beach or Clifton Beach. So I think from an accessibility and a site perspective, it's tremendous. And then also the site that we chose, it's in a quiet street, which is lots of trees in it, and one has views, I think, which is important. If you're living in Cape Town, you want to see the mountain, or you want to see the harbour and the sea and the city. So that's a little bit about the location of the Vera.
So from my understanding, as we were chatting, you also did mention that there are two other developments on the same street. How would you say this development is different to the other two?
Yeah, that's correct. So this development is located in a road called Davenport Road in Verdehoek, and we've done two other developments, one across the road called the Elm, and then another development further up the road called the Aram. So this is the third development that we do in this specific street in Verdehoek. And Verdehoek is an area that has a very long history with Art Deco. And what we wanted to do with this specific development was to create something that was our modern take on Art Deco. So when I say that, I think what was important for us was to design a building that wasn't a mimic or trying to be something that it wasn't, but was a modern take on this Art Deco movement and style. Something that I think certainly we wanted to complement and add to the architectural language of the area and of the street. and something that also enhanced the context in which it will be built. So it was a very long design process, and it was quite a consultative process between ourselves and the city and Heritage Western Cape. And I think it was a very positive consultation process. And I think the end of it is that we left with a building that is well balanced, it's timeless, and I think very, very elegant. So it's certainly a building that offers something quite different to many of the other modern apartment buildings that have been put up, and certainly some of the other apartments buildings that us ourselves have developed.
So the apartment blocks does consist of 12 apartments in the building. Can you just tell us about the different types of apartments that are available, the square meter, and what are the features offered to residents?
Yeah, sure. Well, as I mentioned, most of the developments that we do are quite small and exclusive and boutique in their design. So this is no different. It consists of 12 apartments in total, and of those 12, there are 4 one-bedroom apartments, and those apartments range in size from around 41 square meters to 55 square meters. Then we've got a collection of 6 two-bedroom apartments, and all the two-bedroom apartments come with an ensuite and a main bathroom and open living area. And they also vary in size from 74 square meters to 90 square meters. And then on the 3rd floor, what we have included in this development is what we call a penthouse suite apartment. So that is an apartment that is not on the penthouse level, but it's an apartment that is bigger than the rest, and it has unbelievable views and a private north-facing terrace with a jacuzzi on it. So that penthouse suite apartment is about 95 square meters in size. And then on the top floor, we've got our penthouse, and that penthouse is just under 150 square meters in size. Also 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a guest loo, and it's got a wonderful north-facing, quite large terrace with a private jacuzzi. And from that terrace, you've got panoramic views stretching from Signal Hill and Lions Head all around, down to the city and to the harbour, where you've got the fantastic sea views, and then wrapping around. So yeah, it's a small apartment block, and the prices vary depending on what floor one is on and how big the apartment is. So the prices range from 2.5 million, and that's the VAT inclusive price, up to 8.5 million for the penthouse on the 4th floor. Then just from a buildings facility and design perspective, so if I just start with the outside, so you've got a first level, the ground level, we call on-grade parking. So all the units come with secure parking. The 2 bedrooms come with 2 parking bays, and the 1-bedroom units come with 1 parking bay. Then from a design perspective, if I just talk to the outside of the building for a bit, what one will notice is that we've stepped back the sides of the building, so they're not built boundary to boundary. And that's nice in that, firstly, it has a better street feel, so there's view tunnels through, and also it allows us to get natural light into all the rooms and bathrooms in the apartment. The building itself has these slightly rounded edges, which was something that we incorporated just to soften the approach of the building as you look at it. And then also it's got these really cool portal windows. That's the fire escape behind that. So those are some of the design features that we had to add to the architectural language. Then, like all of the new buildings that we do, the building has a generator, and I think that's particularly important in light of the fact that one never knows when there's going to be a power outage. And I think during this corona crisis that we've been through, we obviously haven't had any of these, but I think that's a function of certainly industry not being back at work. So we've made a decision that all of our buildings need to have generators, just to ensure that residents are not inconvenienced if you're having 1, 2, 3 power outages a day. Secure parking I mentioned. Then I think the other appeal and why many people move into these apartment blocks, besides location and convenience, is also because of the safety and security that they provide. So from a safety perspective, we've incorporated CCTV cameras throughout the building, and those are monitored off-site. Then there's electric fencing, excellent access control. So from a security point of view, that's been a very big focus of ours. And then if I just turn to the apartments specifically, what we have done is we've designed all the apartments to include this, what we call floor-to-ceiling glazing. So we've really tried to maximize the height and the width of the windows and the sliding doors. And that achieves two things for us. Firstly, it brings in and draws in lots of natural light. And secondly, it's used to frame views. If you've got an apartment that's got wonderful views towards Table Mountain or the city, then I think it's important that those views are framed in the best way. So we have floor-to-ceiling glazing. Then also from a customization point of view, what we have allowed with this development is we've tried to offer a service where clients are able to customize their apartment interiors to a greater extent than our previous developments. And we've done that through allowing different choices. Obviously in flooring, we've allowed different wall colors and feature wall colors. There's different joinery color options and stone options that people can choose from. And then also different integrated appliances. So those are some of the key features that we've incorporated. And then also what we have done is every unit has a balcony. So one wants to be able to open a sliding door and bring in some fresh air and also take in the views.
Well, David, you definitely mentioned two of my favorite combos, which is Cape Town and the penthouse, and not forgetting the amazing view of Table Mountain, Sabaweli. So also, David, obviously developers have to comply with new regulations that do come out. How would you say this development has considered the environment? And, here, obviously, you can just talk to us about the design style of it and how you have incorporated Go Green in this development.
Yeah, so I think as you said, there's always regulations that one has to comply with, and as I mentioned, firstly from a design perspective, it was a process where I think there was some very good collaboration between ourselves, between the architects, and between Heritage Western Cape to try to do a building that wasn't necessarily maxed out from a bulk perspective, but was slightly more sensitive to the context in which it was developed. So I mentioned those round edges, the porthole windows, and also what we did is on the fourth level, which is the penthouse level, we stepped back that floor. So when you approach the building, it doesn't necessarily read as a 4-story building. It reads as a 3-story building. And then on top you have this penthouse level that sits. So some of the other elements that we've done is landscaping was a very important consideration. So the balconies all incorporate greenery and planting. There's planting that's set in on the street verge where there will be trees and greenery. So I think that's very important to incorporate in any development that we do now. Then just from a green features perspective, the building incorporates a heat pump. So that's a hot water system that is a lot more efficient. So it's a system that runs off and provides central hot water to the building, and that water is heated primarily using solar, so that's from heat energy from the sun, and then to the extent that that's not adequate, it switches over to to electricity. So that's something that's incorporated in this building. Then internally, there are low-flow shower heads, dual flushing toilets, all the lights are LED lights to reduce one's energy consumption. And then I think one also gets an element of a lot of green features just from a design perspective. Designing buildings that have natural lights that you can insulate with the sun, and add heat with the sun. So those are some of the green features that we've incorporated in this development.
So obviously, buying into property, it's not an impulse buying, and people have to really take time to think about it, do the necessary research that is needed. Some obviously have to drop their budgets like way before going onto site and deciding the type of property that they are looking for. But when you are approached by a first-time buyer or an investor, what are the services that one can expect from a Horizon agent?
So I think when we set up Horizon Capital Residential, which is the development side of the business, back in 2013, 2014, what was very important for us was to be able to offer a very personalized service and a professional service. And what the decision we took at that time was that we wanted to control the full process of our client's experience. So what I mean by that is we control from start to finish. So we market the developments ourselves that we do. So we are the agents and we are the developers. And I think the benefit of that is that we're able to develop personal relationships with our clients. And as you mentioned, when someone is buying off plan, I think that there's really sometimes a leap of faith, and there needs to be a very good level of trust between agent, developer, and purchaser. So I think what helped us is because we control the full, almost value chain and process. We've been able to ensure that there's no miscommunication when it comes to buying off plan, and that comes down to explaining where the development is situated in the block. If there are any changes that a purchaser wants to make, we're able to make very quick decisions and advise as to whether it is possible or whether it isn't possible. So I think those are some of the value adds that we've been able to do, as well as our speciality is developing and guiding purchasers as to the process of what it's like to buy off plan. I think over this process, some of the important things that we've learned is that drone footage is key. So people want to know, you can't obviously visit the apartment often because it hasn't been built yet. So purchasers want to know what the finishes are going to be like, and they want to know what the views and what the size is going to be like. So we have drone footage that we have taken from each level. So it allows buyers to see what type of view that they're going to get. And as I said, I think it's very important in that there's an element of trust in buying off plan. Purchasers need to firstly trust the developer, be comfortable with the quality, and also very importantly, be comfortable that in a year or 2 or 3's time, if something goes wrong, because that's always a possibility, that the developer is going to be around and they're going to honor their product and come and rectify your work.
Well, I don't think any relationship can survive without trust. And, as you did mention, it's important to establish a healthy and strong relationship that between the buyer, the investor, and the developer, that it should be built on trust, because you're going to be interacting with the developer for the whole process throughout the purchasing of your property. So thank you so much for that, David. We're just going to take a quick break. And remember, guys, if you have any questions for today's development, that you can hit us up on the comments section, and we will be sure to answer them. And remember, if you are looking to buy, sell, or list your property, that you can go onto our website. That's www.privateproperty.co.za, and we will be back straight after this. still joined by David, who represents the Horizon Capital all the way in Cape Town, and we are talking about the development today that is called the Vera. So, David, you did mention about the pricing in terms of the unit types that are available, but I would really like to know: is there any additional cost that is involved? Is there securing deposits? What is the investment process of getting one of these apartments?
Yeah, sure. So from a process perspective, I think maybe just to talk about the commencement date and the completion date. So it is a new development. So where we are in the timeline is construction is due to start in January next year, with completion of January the following year. So that would be January, February 2022. Then from a process in terms of securing a unit, like many new developments, it's dependent on whether one is buying and putting a bond in place, and we're able to assist with that if one is doing a bond purchase, or if one is doing a cash purchase. So for a bond purchase, what's required is we would sign a sale agreement, and in that sale agreement would have all the terms and conditions, including the finish options and any changes that need to be made. And there would be a deposit that would get payable on signing, and that would be 10% of the purchase price. And in the event of a cash purchase, what's required is it would be a 30% deposit, and that would get paid, and there's then no further requirements up until close to completion, when the attorneys would call for the balance of the money at that point in time. And in both instances, I think what is important for your viewers and for clients and purchasers to be aware of is that the deposit would be paid not to the developer or to the agent, in our case. It gets paid to the attorneys. So there's a lot of comfort, I think, from a buyer's perspective, is that deposit gets paid to the attorneys, and then it sits in their trust account and is invested in the name of the purchaser. And during that particular period, up until completion, then interest accrues, and that interest is payable to the purchaser. So they are earning a return on their money during that time, and that offers, I think, a lot of protection. Then I think the other key points just to make is that with these new developments, there's no transfer duty. So often when you buy something, there's two components. There would be a transfer duty component, which is essentially a tax that gets paid to the South African Revenue Service, and then there's transfer costs, which is the attorney fees. Now, when one is buying new and off plan, there's VAT that's included on that purchase price. So that gets paid by the developer, and because there's VAT, then there's no transfer duty. So a buyer saves in the transfer duty costs, or the transfer duty, but then there is the attorney fees. But generally speaking, the attorney fees are quite minimal in compared to the price of a new apartment.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, David. Well, we are in level 3 of our lockdown, and I think we have come such a long way, obviously, with finding new ways of doing things and just adapting to our new normal now. What would you say are some of the challenges that Horizon Capital has faced during this time, and maybe the tools that you'll have used to still operate and, to still keep in contact with your clientele? Obviously, now the restrictions are a bit lighter, so just going forward, what are some of the things that you'll have made use of during this time?
Yeah, well, it's certainly been a extremely challenging time, I think, for everybody in the country, and it's undoubtedly affected millions and millions of people's lives and their livelihoods too. So it's been challenging for everybody. Some of the specific challenges that we've faced as a business, and I think it's from the perspective that we don't just do property development. We are a multifaceted property investments management development company. So there's different areas in where we've been affected. I think starting off, it's certainly the deeds offices has been a big problem for us, and I think everybody in the property industry, in that they were closed, and transfers. Cash flow doesn't happen if transfers don't go through, and cash flow is the lifeblood, I think, of any business. So the deeds office was closed during level 5 lockdown, and when they did open, I think it proved very challenging. It's still challenging. There was a group of attorneys that, I don't know about the rest of the country, but certainly in Cape Town, had to get a court order to force the deeds office to open and to put in place protocols to operate with COVID-19. So no transfers were going through for many months. And now what we're seeing is that they are going through very slowly, and the deeds office is open one week, closed the next week, open one week, closed the next week. So that's proving incredibly challenging, and I think all businesses are struggling with cash flow, and that directly affects their ability to pay employees. So hopefully the right protocols can get put in place, and the system can get put in place to ensure the transfers happen. Then on site, there's been no construction. So developers and construction companies have had certain challenges with that. We're pleased that many of our sites have reopened now, so that's positive, but they're all acting under very strict social distancing guidelines, taking temperatures of all staff members, ensuring there's regular sanitizing, that everyone's tools are sanitized at the end of the day, as well as masks and other safety PPE wear. So that's been a challenge, but we've been able to overcome that. And I think in general, sales have undoubtedly slowed down, and that's a function of there still being, to some extent, a bit of fear. There's uncertainty of the unknown. I think people have been wanting to hold onto cash as far as possible. But I do think things are improving. We've had a surge in inquiries, and I think as a country we're very resilient, and I think people are realizing that the show must go on, and we need to just get used to operating under these new normal conditions and try to adapt as best as we can.
Definitely. It's really been some really trying times, but as you said, we will get through this, and with the use of technology, being able to come up with new ways of still being engaged and contacting our developments, whether we're doing it through a Zoom call and where our clients are able to still go through and see virtual tours. So I think things are looking up, and thank you so much for joining us and just giving us an insight on the developments that you'll have in Cape Town. We as private property, we aim at giving a bigger voice and reach to our developers. How would you say this has helped Horizon Capital?
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct. We've had to all adapt to working and doing things differently, and some of the tools, as you mentioned, that we've used, and many others to adapt, is where building or development has already been completed. We're using interactive floor maps and walkthroughs, so it gives people and buyers a sense of the space. Where the development hasn't been built, as is the case with the Vera yet, so we're starting construction, as I mentioned, next year, January. So some of those tools is engaging with buyers, having Zoom meetings or Microsoft Teams meetings or Skype meetings, whatever the tool might be, and also ensuring that I think the plans are set out in a way that's easy to read and easy to understand, that there are renders, and this is also very important. We put a lot of time into doing the renders on all of these new developments, and not only doing the renders, but ensuring that the renders are an accurate representation of what the building is going to look like at the end of the day. I think that's critical. And then, as I mentioned earlier, is taking drone footage at the different floor heights also allows buyers to visualize what the view is that they're going to get at the end of the day once the development is built. So those are some of the tools that we've employed, just to touch on your earlier question. Then I think from a private property point of view, we've been on private property since we started residential development in 2013. And for us, it's definitely been a very valuable and important tool to expand the audience that we engage with in our market. And it's been great for us. So I think that's been important. And I think discussions like the one that we are having now is also another tool where we can, in an interactive way, talk about some of the new developments and the offerings that we have available.
Definitely. Thank you so much, David, for your time that you've taken out, just to talk us through the development and the beautiful location in Cape Town. We do enjoy having you on the show, and we look forward to chatting to you soon.
Yeah, thanks very much, and have a lovely rest of your weekend.
Thank you so much, guys. So just remember, if you have any questions for the development today, that you can hit us up on the comment side and leave your questions. We will be sure to answer them. If you want more information on the development that we spoke about today, or any other development, or if you are looking to just rent or list your property, that you can go onto our website. That's www.privateproperty.co.za. But until next time, stay safe and stay home.
Hi, I'm Clinton Banfield. Our family and I live in Cape Town on the Western Seaboard. To be able to wake up and take in the scenery every day is an absolute pleasure. We probably have the best views of Table Mountain. There's some really amazing suburbs in our neighborhood. There's Milnerton, which is a central hub close to the city. There's some beautiful homes situated along the canal, which give you a breathtaking view of Table Mountain. A little bit further along the canal, you'll find Milnerton Golf Club, which is a great place to unwind with your mates. Then we have Blouberg, which is world-renowned for its beaches, where you'll often see kite surfers taking full advantage of the wind. To top it off, there's a great variety of family restaurants in the area, like Blue Peter, where people love to meet. The Bayside Mall is a landmark in Tableview, giving you an all-round retail experience in a relaxed and convenient environment. As a family, we've chosen to live in Atlantic Beach Golf Estate in Melkbosstrand. Our suburb is so chilled, it really gives you this constant holiday feel. We've lived here for 2 years and we've really enjoyed the laid-back lifestyle, and this is our neighborhood.